First time around, we did it with the candles. Lord, I hope this day is good. I'm feeling empty and misunderstood. I should be thankful, Lord, I know I should. But Lord, I hope this day is good. Lord, have you forgotten me? 'Cause I've been praying to you faithfully. I'm not saying I'm a righteous man, but Lord, I hope you understand. I don't need fortune and I don't need fame. Send down the thunder, Lord, send down the rain. And if you're planning just how it will be, plan a good day for me. Lord, I hope this day is good. I'm feeling empty and misunderstood. I should be thankful, Lord, I know I should. But Lord, I hope this day is good. You've been the King since the dawn of time. All that I'm asking is a little less crime. It might be hard for the devil to do, but it would be easy for you. Lord, I hope this day is good. I'm feeling empty and misunderstood. I should be thankful, Lord, I know I should. But Lord, I hope this day is good. I should be thankful, Lord, I know I should. But Lord, I hope this day is good. That's another one we were talking about.
Yes.
We're talking about secular songs that actually have a wonderful spiritual meaning to them, and that was one of them that we were talking about. One of the songs. When I think how he came so far from glory, came to dwell among the lowly, such as I, to suffer pain and such disgrace upon Calvary, take my place. And then I ask myself the question, who am I? Who am I that a king would bleed and die for? Who am I that he would pray, not my will thine for? The answer I may never know, me go for who I'm on. Scott was saying earlier that he had a song that he hadn't done in public yet until today. I got one of those too. And you know the reason why we say that, right? You know the reason why? So if we mess it up, you got some grace coming back at us. You know. I want to acknowledge my sisters here, Karen. My brother Tom is also here. Good to see you, brother. Karen's blood, Tom's musical brother. My kids about Jesus, same way that my mom and daddy did. I used to talk to my kids about Jesus. Now I talk to Jesus about my kids. When they're born, you dive right in. Try to get them born again. Pull out those Bible stories and you stumble your way through. Do your best to steer them straight. Tell them all about what is and ain't, and answer every question, even though you've got some too. Used to talk to my kids about Jesus. He lived and died and rose again. I used to talk to my kids about Jesus. And now I talk to Jesus about my kids. Lose your grip the more they grow. They don't listen because they think they know. And you watch them head down a dead-end road and you can't stop. Lord, please watch them. I used to talk to my kids about Jesus. Pray they'd find him sooner than I did. Used to talk to my kids about Jesus. And now I talk to Jesus about my kids. Out of mess they grow, 'cause if anyone you know, on the straight and narrow, all the places they could fall. Used to talk to my kids about Jesus. He knew and loved them long before I did. Used to talk to my kids about Jesus. And now I talk to Jesus about my kids. I used to talk to my kids about Jesus. Now I talk to Jesus about my kids. Cindy asked me, how was my year? I'm having a good year. Our first grandbaby is due on August 1st. Yes. I got my youngest daughter married off in June, and the best part is they both got really good fellas. Now let's go to the other one, the other end. A question that I've been getting a lot lately. Have I lost weight? Yes, I have. Was it on purpose? Yes, it was. Am I sick? No, I am not. I just got tired of it and I got rid of it. And I'm loving it and I'm feeling a whole lot better. Yeah, I'm down about 40 pounds. And he's going, yeah. We were talking about Joe Jackson earlier. And I did this song the first time at the first festival that I participated in. And Joe left me strict instructions. He didn't ask, he didn't request, he instructed me that I will do this song every single year as long as I do this festival. Period. So here's this one for Joe. One of the fondest memories that I have as a child is of my old grandmother who was gentle, meek, and mild. Sunday morning always found her dressed in finest lace, and we'd go to church and sing God's praise. Glory, hallelujah, that's what Grandma sang, and she had to be the happiest person that I'd ever seen. She'd clap her hands and sing a song of how Jesus set her free, and the Lord, He didn't mind when my grandma sang off key. People used to joke about my grandma being loud, 'cause you could hear her singing far above the crowd, and Preacher Bill would laugh at her, and then he'd say to me, wish we had more people who could sing off key. Glory, hallelujah, that's what Grandma sang, and she had to be the happiest person that I'd ever seen. She'd clap her hands and sing a song of how Jesus set her free, and the Lord, He didn't mind when my grandma sang off key. Then came that final Sunday when I'd sit in church alone and whispered to the Lord, I know you had to take her home, but I sure miss the way my grandma used to sing for me, and I really didn't mind when she sang off key. Now she's gone to heaven and at last her soul's at rest, 'cause she is singing with the choir that has to be the best. And every Sunday I can hear the angels sing for me, and above the rest I hear one angel singing off key. Glory, hallelujah, that's what Grandma sang, and she had to be the happiest person that I'd ever seen. She'd clap her hands and sing a song about Jesus set her free, and the Lord, He didn't mind when my grandma sang off key. Go the Lord, and we don't mind when my grandma sang off key. How many more? One more? Good enough. Good enough. Back in the 60s/70s, there was a group called Rush Arbor. Cindy knows them. And I got this song through a friend of mine. I'd never heard of him. But I got this song through a friend of mine, and I learned it, and I haven't been able to get rid of it ever since. A lot of the songs we get are going home, but the other side is the testimony songs, and this is definitely one of them. Let me switch pages. Hello, God, do you remember me? Called you before, but never on bended knee. Always asked for something, something I think I'd need. Here I am all broken down, now I just want to give you me. Seems like I've had to learn the hard way, which way to go. Sometimes it's like I can't remember the things I'm supposed to know. Guess I'm tired of running away, and I'm tired of being alone. So I'm calling on you this time. God, you gotta save my soul. 'Cause there's a battle going on inside. Lord, I hope you win. Pulling hard this time, but Lord, I'm asking you in. Hello, God, do you remember me? I'm a lot different now than what I used to be. Oh, and it feels so good inside. I was blind, but now I see. I just want to thank you, Lord, for bringing me down to my knees. There's a battle going on inside, and now I know you'll win. Devil's pulling hard this time, Lord, I'm asking you in. 'Cause there's a battle going on inside, and now I know you'll win. The devil's pulling hard this time, but Lord, I'm asking you in. Now I gotta go to my other gig.
All right. By the way, we just want to thank Lee Baker for putting that wonderful concert poster together. You do a great job, you know that. And have fun at your other event, and good to see you again, brother. All right. All right. I remember growing up as a kid, and my parents had a record collection, and Dad had a lot of gospel quartet records in his collection, Blackwood Brothers and, Oak Ridge Boys, Cathedrals, things like that. And I remember started playing those albums, you know, and when I was a young teenager. And one of my favorite ones that I played was the Blackwood Brothers' Oh Happy Day album. And I was about probably 12, 13. That was when my voice began to change. So I go lower, and I really was intrigued by the bass singer, London Paris. And, well, really, that was kind of what inspired me as a bass singer. But anyway, the Blackwood Brothers, some years later, was able to meet the Blackwood Brothers, met James Blackwood, and actually had a radio interview with James Blackwood about the Blackwood Brothers, gave me the whole history, and boy, he was as sharp as a needle, and he was going through cancer at that time when we had the phone interview on the radio. But some years, not too long after that, when I was with the Campbells, we happened to have a night off. We didn't have to sing that particular night. We knew the Blackwood Brothers would be in Bath, Maine. So we went. And of course, Jimmy Blackwood was with them. And Jimmy Blackwood, Dad remembers when he came to Concord, New Hampshire, to the studio. And we did a live interview there with Jimmy. But anyway, I was able to see the Blackwood Brothers, the newer version of the Blackwood Brothers in that day. And that was probably 16, 17, 18 years ago, I guess now. Anyway, saw this young guy playing the piano and singing, and I thought, wow, these guys are great. And we were so blown away, just really, really loved it, and so blessed, and just encouraged by it. But anyway, and I didn't know some years later we'd be able to do some work together. So, Brad White, formerly of the Blackwood Brothers, would you please welcome Brad to the piano and platform?
When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're frowning, it brings down the rain. So stop your frowning and be happy again. 'Cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. Now smile at me. When you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're frowning, it brings down the rain. So stop your frowning and be happy again. 'Cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. I hadn't planned on doing that song, but after Cindy got here and talked about smiles, it's like, I think I'm going to do that song. I like that old song. And it's good to be here, wherever it is we are this morning. Whitefield, New Hampshire. I confess, when Scott contacted me the first time about this, I had never heard of Whitefield, New Hampshire. In fact, I've had several people ask me where I'm going to be today, and I told them, and even people in New Hampshire didn't know where Whitefield was at. So I have now been to 155 countries and Whitefield, New Hampshire. So I put that on my resume. So I'm glad you're here today, and it is wonderful to be with you. Now, I saw something, people send me stories from time to time, and said that there was a blonde, a redhead, and a brunette all worked together. And they're all at work, and the brunette opened up her lunchbox, and she just yells out, "Tuna fish again! I hate tuna fish! Why is it my husband keeps making me tuna fish sandwiches?" Well, the redhead opened up her lunchbox. Sure enough, she had tuna fish too. Said the same thing. I've told them 100 times I don't like that.
And she said, I got so sick of this. The blonde opens hers up and said, I got tuna fish too. Well, this went on day after day, week after week, and after months. The brunette takes her lunchbox and looks at it. Said, if he made me tuna fish one more time, I am going to jump out that window. The redhead said, you know, I'll follow you if I have tuna fish. The blonde said the same thing. Brunette opened up her lunchbox. It was tuna fish. She threw the lunchbox on the floor, jumped out of the window, and she was no more. The redhead opened up hers. It was tuna fish, jumped out the window. The blonde opened up her lunchbox. It was tuna fish. She jumped out the window. The next week, they had a triple funeral. And the husbands are all there. They're just crying. The brunette's husband's just weeping and wailing. He's like, if I had any idea she didn't like tuna fish, I would never have made her a tuna fish sandwich. I loved her. I just can't believe it. The red-headed husband said, oh, I know. I never would have done this. I never dreamed that tuna fish would cause this. And the blonde's husband was just shaking his head and said, she made her own lunch. Well, I'm in love with my Savior and he's in love with me. He is with me from day to day.